Today's devotion is on this is part 3 of the small called articles, and this is article 1 of part 3 of the small called articles. And this article is concerning sin, and you might say, well, we've covered that like at least twice already. Why are we like, first of all, we're doing this again because at this point I am so far into these devotions, I am not going to skip a beat. Like, I want the complete set. So, A of all, we're doing that. Second of all, I think how Luther writes this section is he approaches it a little differently that I think is going to challenge us a little bit more. But that's good. That's appropriate, right? So he lists a series of things that scholastic theologians, so a dominant, I guess, like trend in theology at the time, scholastic theologians were teaching these, were throwing these ideas around, and he's speaking against them because they're wrong. So he lists off 7 different points here, but I'm going to kind of distill them into 2. The first is they're teaching this idea that humans are our natural state is uncorrupted. Like, you're born innocent. You can choose to do good. It is within humans. It's within our capability to do the right things all the time. So that's the first thing that he's pushing against. And then the second is kind of this dual idea that if you do the best you can, then God will certainly give grace to you. And that's something we deal with a lot today. This idea of, oh, you just try to be a pretty good person and God will take care of the rest. It's like, that's not how this works, right? This works on faith. Whether you're a great person or a terrible person, faith in Jesus Christ is what saves you. And the thing is, if you don't have faith, even if you're a great person, you are not good enough. And that is a really difficult teaching, because that means what we're saying is all of these good people we know, even though they're really good people, because they don't have faith, they are going to hell. Now, that's a tough thing to deal with. That's a tough thing to say. So that's one thing he goes after. But then the other is that intention matters more than reality, than what actually happens. So kind of these two things and the reason I clump these two together is because these are things we do to make ourselves feel better. We say, well, like, I do my best and that's going to be good enough. Or we say, well, I meant to do good even if that's not what happened. And the reality is, your best isn't good enough. My best isn't good enough. Period. And even if you meant to do good, if you didn't, you still did, and you still did wrong. And a really easy example is, like, say I wake up one day and I feel like, I should go to the food bank today, but I'm going to run some errands first. So I go and I get my car's oil changed, right? And then I run to the grocery store because I got to pick up groceries. But I grab some, like, frozen items, so I got to go home and I got to drop off my groceries. And then as I'm walking back out to my car, I realize, like, it's looking really dusty. So I run and I get my car washed. And I haven't eaten lunch all day, and it's getting pretty late in the afternoon. So I'm like, I should probably eat lunch so that I can eat dinner at a reasonable hour. And by the time I'm done with all these errands and I've done all these things, the food bank that I meant to go to was closed. And you say, well, I meant to go, so, like, that's just as good. But it's not. It's not, right? Because if someone was counting on the work you were going to do at the food bank to be fed, they are going to go hungry. right? Just because you meant to do good, because you meant to do the right thing, doesn't change the reality of what you did or didn't do. So if we're, summing this all up into our two takeaways, the first is, at no point in our lives are we ever innocent or righteous. We're corrupted from the moment we're conceived. And the second takeaway is maybe we need to stop saying these things just to make ourselves feel better and rely on the gospel to make us feel better and then be kind of driven to do better by these things that we can't say anymore. Namely, I'll do my best and that's going to be good enough. Or I meant to do good even if I didn't. So if that was unclear, or if I've left anything that you need more explanation on, or if you have any other comments and questions, please go ahead and put them below. And regardless, go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.